let's actually start in child's pose. If that feels like a place you really want to start. Sometimes it's like a wonky place for people to start who have like really sensitive knees. If that's you, you can raise your seat up with a pillow or take a blanket of some sort, roll it, and you'll place it behind your knees. So all different options, right? You can even take your block and place it underneath your forehead to bring, your head up a little bit higher so you're not like in a tight little ball as much as you would be if you're just putting your forehead on the ground. If you want your seat up a little bit higher, of course, you can take that blanket or that pillow right like so, which can also decrease that angle in the knees. And then once you're in child's pose, your forearms can rest on the ground if you wish. Your arms can stretch out long in front of you.
Either one of those works. I'm going to take a big breath in. And a long breath out. Think about like grounding down and feeling supported by whatever's underneath you. Every time you exhale. So just take a few more rounds of breath to settle in, to soften something. Maybe even rock your head side to side. Give your forehead a little bit of a massage. And then slowly make your way up onto all fours, tabletop pose. Spread your fingers nice and wide right under your shoulders and tuck your toes under here. Maybe that creates a little bit more of a stretch. The back of the ankles, the Achilles. And then take lateral movement here side to side. So think about a C curve in the spine, like in both directions. Sending your ribs to one side and then the other. And let your head, your neck, and even like your tailbone be part of that line that moves side to side. So creating a little more mobility in both directions. A little more space. And come back to neutral here. Start to send your right leg behind you. And let it float about hip height to start. And then just bend your knee, your right knee, to create a 90-degree angle here. Take a breath in. Can you press your heel up just a little bit higher? Create a little more tension in the glutes. And then as you exhale, bring your right knee back in line with the left. And then send your right knee directly out to the right. Now it's like a fire hydrant pose, we would call it. It's like your dog near a fire hydrant. And then you'll bring it up and back. So that's your circle here. So the knee is back behind you. That 90-degree angle, keep it. Take a breath in, press the heel up. And then exhale, bring the knee down next to the other, out to the right. And then kick it up and back. Do one more circle like that. Down, out to the side. Kick it up and back. Now bring your knee, snug it behind your left. Your feet can go a little bit wider and then send your seat back. So this is another way you can start to stretch out the hips, the low back, If you want a little more, maybe even think about inching your fingertips towards 10 o'clock. So if straight ahead was 12, you'll inch them over to the left. Take one big breath in. Bigger breath out. And bring your hands back through center. Crawl forward. Send that right leg back behind you for a moment. And then drop your right knee next to the left. Tabletop pose. One round of cat-cow. Lift your heart. Breathe in. And then exhale. Press into your hands. Round your upper back. Now I want you to stay rounded. Start to send your seat closer towards your heels. Let your head drop, chin towards your chest. Now keep that roundness in your back. Feel your upper back stretch in between your shoulder blades. And then come back to neutral. Walk your hands up your thighs. Interlace your hands in front of your face and press your palms together. Create that sort of infinity symbol. Just to like give a little more mobility in the wrists. Take a breath in, reach that up and overhead, maybe even look up, just a little back bend, but with length in the low back, not crunching there. And bring your hands to your heart just for balance. Step your right foot forward, so you're in a lunge. Reach both arms up and overhead as you inhale. Right hand to your left wrist, lean over to the right. So now this stretches that space in the front of the left hip. Rise all the way up, and then bring your hands to your heart center again. You're gonna tip your torso slightly forward from here, and then twist to the right. So it's either left elbow outside the right knee or left forearm, right hand to your hip. So whether you're keeping your hands together or you find that open arm variation, take a breath in to lengthen through the top of your head. And then exhale, maybe look over to the right. Stay here, one more full breath in. Big breath out. Awesome, and then reach your hands all the way up overhead. Bring them down to frame your right foot. Now tuck your back toes, lift your knee up. Spin your back heel down, rise up to warrior two. And then in warrior two, take an inhale to straighten the legs, reach the arms up, give that right thigh a break. And then exhale, sink back down, warrior two. Do that one more time, inhale, rise high, straighten the leg. Exhale, sink back down. Excellent, now straighten the legs, reach the arms up, parallel the feet. Wide leg forward fold, let your head drop. You can softly bend the knees. Maybe you rock side to side. You can even shake the head. Yes, no. Letting your head be nice and heavy here. And then take a big breath in to lengthen out. And then heel toe your feet just a little bit closer. Bring your hands to your hips, and then slowly you'll stand back up. Awesome, and now step to the top of your mat. Find Tadasana, arms down along your sides, palms forward. Shrug your shoulders as you breathe in. Open your mouth. Let it go as they soften away from your ears. Now, start to spread your toes nice and wide. You want to create like a really big base for your feet. Bring your hands together at your heart. So we're going to continue to do this as a place of balance, right? So keeping that sense of balance, shift weight into your right foot. Start to pick your left knee up, hip height. Creating that 90-degree angle, but with the other leg, right? So as you're here, think about standing up nice and tall. And then maybe if you want a little bit more, press your left heel forward. Take one more breath in. Maybe your hands reach up overhead, playing with balance. And then you'll swing that leg behind you, land in a high lunge. So now we're in a higher pathway than that low lunge on the ground. Maybe again, you take right hand to your left wrist and lean over to the right. Lengthening out that space in the front of your left hip. Take one more big breath in to rise up. Hands to your heart center. Start to tip your heart forward, and then you'll find a twist. So it can be gentle, of course. Maybe it's the hand just outside of the knee, and then your right hand comes to your hip. Maybe you keep your hands together and your left elbow snugs outside your right knee. Take a breath in. Big breath out. One more inhale to lengthen again. And then as you exhale, come back to center, hands to your heart. Slowly, 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 you drop your left knee to the ground. Awesome. Reach your hands up overhead. Keep your palms together. Thumbs come behind your head here, behind your neck, right? So your forearms press into the back of your head. Slightly, slightly. Think about lifting from the elbows, maybe even look up. Take a breath in and out. Reach back up overhead. Left knee comes to meet, or right knee comes to meet the left. Hands to your heart center here for a moment to pause. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take your knees a little bit wider. Big toes come together. Send your seat back towards your heels. Walk your hands forward. Child's pose. Come back into it. Full breath in. Long breath out. Begin to even walk your hands over to the right a little bit more. And then over to the left. Come back to neutral. And then shift your way up onto hands and knees. Take a breath in to lift your heart, finding cow. And then a breath out to round your back. Drop your head. Stay rounded here, maybe even lean back, thinking about your hip, your seat, drawing towards your heels a little more. Awesome, and then come forward. Stay on your knees. I want you to shift forward into a plank, but on your knees. And then slowly lower onto your belly. Take one hand on top of the other. Create a pillow for your forehead. Drop it down, right on top. And then you can allow your feet to just land as they want, right? So sometimes it feels like a lot of release in your low back. If your heels just splay out to the sides, just investigate that. And then you might even bend your knees and just like windshield wiper your feet, your lower legs, side to side here. Notice what that does. And then release your legs down. Start to slide your forearms. So you're like creating the number 11 right underneath you, finding Sphinx, but I want you to make it active. So point your toes back, right? And so then think about your pelvis tilting forward and back and that movement happening. I want you to think about what would be possible if you were to press your pubic bone down, right? And then you feel that shift in your pelvis, like you're creating a little more length in your low back, but your glutes start to fire up. Press the tops of your feet down onto the mat. Stay a full breath in. Big breath out. One more inhale. Full exhale. And then release. Lower your forehead down. Elbows can go wide. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders and just press yourself back up, hands and knees, tabletop pose. Come back to that lateral movement side to side. Maybe tuck your toes under for support. And then come back to neutral. Send your left leg behind you. Let it float hip height. Bend your knee 90 degrees. Maybe press that heel up a little bit more. Try not to back bend. Everything else stays the same. And the left knee comes down in line with the right. Send it out to the left. And then kick it up and back. You've got two more like that. See if you can move nice and slow. Turning that outer hip on. And then snug that left knee behind the right. When you're ready, feet wide, send your seat back for that stretch. Drop your head. Stay for a breath in and out. If you want a little more, maybe walk your hands over to 2 o'clock. Coming back to neutral. Send that left leg back behind you just for a moment, and then drop that left knee down. Walk your hands up your thighs here, rise up onto your knees. Interlace your fingers, press your palms together, take that load off the wrists, move them in another direction other than just this, right? Holding that load. Reach that up and overhead, big inhale, maybe even look up. And bring your hands to your heart center. Keep that for balance. Step your left foot forward. Coming into that low lunge here. Reach hands up and overhead as you inhale. Left hand to your right wrist. Lean over to the left to your degree. Don't lose your breath. And you'll rise up. Bringing hands back to your heart center, you'll tip your torso forward and then find your twist. So think about twisting. Your hips stay the same. See if you can twist from your rib cage up. Everything there. That's where the twist sort of originates, right? So not bringing that right hip with you. Keep that in neutral. Whether it's hand outside your knee, the arm, or your hands stay together. Whatever you need, take a breath in and out. Awesome. One more inhale to lengthen it up. Big exhale. And then reach both hands up and overhead as you inhale, you rest. Hands come down, framing your left foot. Tuck your back toes, lift the knee. Spin that back heel down. Rise up to warrior 2. Set it up. And then inhale, straighten the legs, reach the arms high. Exhale, sink back down, warrior 2. A little bit of flow. One more like that. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, sink back down. Inhale to rise, parallel the feet. Now this time either forward fold right away or take a bind of the hands behind you. And if you want, they can stay on your low back or they straighten. Take a breath in to lift the chest and then exhale, fold. We all fold. Dropping the head down. Softening the knees, of course. Taking movement if you need it. Soften the jaw. Notice if you're clenching. And if you have that bind behind you, release it. And heel toe your feet a little closer, hands to your hips. Stand all the way up. And find mountain pose, Tadasana at the top of your mat, arms down along your sides. Again, shrug your shoulders, breathe in. Open your mouth. Soften something, exhale. And then bring hands to your heart center, find the balance, spread the toes nice and wide. Shift weight into the left foot and bring your right knee up hip height. Creating that 90-degree angle. Press your right heel forward. If you want a little more, and then reach your hands up. And swing that leg behind you. So you find that load, and then you find the length. Reach your hands high in that lunge. Left hand to your right wrist, lean over to the left. And notice how you can use that little like self-assist to like tug on that right wrist. Not so much about how far you go to the left, but how much length you can create. Maybe that means you hardly tip over to the left. Maybe you stay in neutral and rise high with the fingertips. That works too. And then hands come to your heart center, tip the chest forward. And then find your twist. You're not here long. Full breath in. Full breath out. Awesome. One more inhale. And then come back to neutral. Hands come to your heart as you exhale. Slowly lower that right knee to the ground. So nice. Take a breath in to pause. And a breath out to empty. Excellent. Left knee comes to meet the right. Take your knees a little bit wider. Big toes together. Hips back. Walk your hands forward. Your last child's pose. So come into it, soften something. Ground down, one more breath in. And a breath out. Shift the weight back, forward. Tabletop pose, hands and knees. Lateral movement, side to side. So nice. And then come to a seat. Swing your legs out in front of you. Give your legs a little bit of a shake. Make sure you have a pillow nearby. If you want a block nearby, or that can come back towards your head. But I just want you to have that pillow nearby. We're going to eventually slide it. Not underneath our low back, but actually underneath like where your hamstrings are, right? So right below the hips. So just keep it close by. You have it within reach. And then gently, slowly, you'll make your way onto your back. Once you're there, take arms overhead, point your toes forward, get really long here. Maybe even open up your mouth, let out a nice sigh. And take your arms down along your sides. Bend your knees and plant your feet just a little bit wider than your hips. And then knock your knees together. And then adjust your feet as you need to, right? So you can feel maybe your low back spread apart a little bit more. on your mats. Maybe hands come to your torso, to your belly. Maybe even over your eyes to create a little more darkness. A moment of pause with less distraction. Notice the rise and the fall of your breath as you feel your low back, your upper back, even the back of your head. Ground into your mat. Stay here, take a big breath in, again, expand out. Open your mouth. And empty. Awesome. And then take your arms out like goalposts, bending at the elbow. Your palms can flip up. And separate your knees just a little and then let both of them fall over to the right. Just a gentle twist. So we had a little more twisting today. And come back through center and then let both knees fall over to the left. Awesome. And then back through center. Start to take a reclined pigeon pose. So your right ankle will come right over your thigh, like right below your knee, right? So you're creating this figure four. And then take your right hand and almost press your right thigh, your right knee away from you to the degree where you're like, okay, we're good. We stay here. Now you can stay here with your low back rooted into the ground here. Or if you want a little bit more, you'll thread your hands through that structure and just grab behind your leg. And you can keep that left knee bent. Maybe you send the right heel up towards the sky and roll the ankle around. Keep the back of your head on the ground, or if you feel like you need that block to support your head, and that would serve you better, take that. And just a few more rounds of breath. Maybe even close the eyes again to create that darkness, lessen the distraction. And you can let that left leg go. Let that left foot return to the ground. Now keep that structure in the legs, that figure four. And even your arms can come out like a T. And we have one final twist here. So the sole of your right foot, let it drop over to the left. And then maybe heavy that right shoulder blade. Maybe even look over to the right. Come back through center, and then you'll just unravel the legs, plant that right foot back down and take it on the other side. So that figure four across, that reclined pigeon, the left knee bends. And stay here or grab behind the right leg. Draw it towards you slightly. Maybe the right heel presses up and you take those rolls of the ankle. Creating just a little bit more space where You might still feel stuck. Or we have these like tight holding patterns in our joints. And then start to slowly drop that right foot back down to the ground, arms out like a T. Now this time, sole of the left foot will drop over to the right. Stay or look over to the left. Slowing things down. When you're ready, unravel, maybe even hug both knees towards your chest and then take your knees a little bit wider apart. One more opportunity to let your low back press into the ground. Maybe a little rock. And then drop your feet back down. This is where I want you to grab your pillow, slide it underneath your knees, right? And you can even put it on its narrow edge for a little bit more height. Wherever you want, maybe it's even on an angle, and then just play around with it. Let your legs go long. Let your arms come down along your sides. So you're creating that support under your legs, under your thighs, to let that natural curve sort of exist in your low back. And it allows just a little more support so you can find a little more ease there. And finding your rest. Close your eyes. Soften your toes. Soften your knees. Allow your hips, your pelvis to soften. Your belly. Your shoulders. Your arms, your wrists, even the tips of your fingers. Allow them to soften. Soften the neck. Soften the jaw. Even the forehead and the top of your head, let that soften as well. So you are letting every part of your body, from your toes to the top of your head, soften and with that intentional rest in mind. allow your next breath to be just a little bit bigger. As you breathe just a little bit bigger, send a little bit of movement to your finger, to your toes. You can even rock your head side to side. And then bend your knees to plant your feet again. And then roll to the side of your choice. And press yourself up to a seat. Maybe even sitting up on that pillow if it feels good. Your hands can come to your knees or rest in your lap. Maybe even come to your heart. Take a breath in. Again, open your mouth, let out that slow sigh. And taking your thumb tips to the center of your forehead, if that feels right. And then even lift your chin, lift your face. Allowing this time on your mat be a time where you cultivate just a little more kindness. Maybe a lot more kindness to yourself. You can then have that capacity to share that kindness out with others. Namaste.